Parents, the ELA is coming up, the state tests are coming up with the new Common Core standards. And what I'm going to talk about today will be helpful in that regard, but more importantly, what I want to discuss today about reading comprehension and writing skills is something that will carry your children through their lives academically and far after academics are officially over. We must work on long-term development and not short-term test preparation. Greetings, parents. I would like to speak to you today, or rather speak with you about reading comprehension. Have you ever said, "My child reads well, but she doesn't seem to understand what she's reading"? You're not alone. Many parents and other educators notice the same thing. Their students can read, but they're not reading with comprehension. How can we help our children or students to improve their reading comprehension? Well, let's start with the problem. Students cannot read with comprehension until they understand what the words mean and how those words are structured within sentences and paragraphs to create meaning. Vocabulary, grammar, and syntax, those are the keys to comprehension. So there are three keys to comprehension. Key number one is vocabulary. Comprehending words. As simple as this sounds, it is extremely important. We must teach our kids how to build an expansive academic vocabulary. Key number two, grammar. Sentence comprehension is the key. We must show them how writers coordinate words to create meaning. They must understand the parts that each word can play in sentences. The third key is paragraph comprehension. We must help students to understand how writers connect sentences to create coherent units of thought called paragraphs. Then we need to show them how paragraphs are connected by transitional thoughts to create larger coherent units of meaning like essays and articles. The Common Core curriculum strongly emphasizes grammar and vocabulary as keys to comprehension. This is standard, and the Common Core standards will repeat over and over and over again the importance of vocabulary acquisition, grammatical structure, sentence structure. These are the keys because they know that these are the critical components for building a child's understanding of the entire passage. In this series of videos, I will show you some simple techniques and resources that you can use to help your children and students to learn and apply the grammar and vocabulary they need to understand in everything they read. As importantly, children will become better writers as they become better readers. So our course will help kids to improve both their reading and writing abilities. And my job is really to show you some tips that you can use and some resources that you can use at home or in the classroom. If you're a home educator or a classroom educator, these are tools that you can use. We'll see that it's not only what we teach children, but how we teach it that makes all the difference. And see, in my opinion, content is everywhere. There are thousands of grammar and vocabulary books and lists online and in stores. Teachers and parents have dozens of resources at their fingertips. But what matters most is learning. Did the students get it? And how long will they be able to retain and apply the new knowledge? The way kids learn is as important as what they learn. Traditional learning emphasizes telling and recording. The teacher or video or book tells, and the students record the information on paper or computer. Then students do practice exercises and quizzes to reinforce and test their understanding. All of this has merit, but the problem is that the students are often passive receivers and not active participants in the learning process. Thinking is rarely required. Very little, if any, demands are placed on them to interact thoughtfully with the material. So their knowledge and memory is limited by the way they learn. As someone said, learning without thought is labor lost. Why? Because our brains learn what they earn. And it's very important for me to say that interactivity does not mean swiping a computer screen or touching a tablet or pushing a button. Those are physical ways for interacting with technology. But that does not necessarily entail learning. As a matter of fact, researchers have found that all the swiping and typing and touching can be very distracting to children. And they're impediments, not helps to reading. These are hindrances. Books are great. Articles are great. Interactivity is not touching or swiping or pushing or pressing and hearing bells and whistles go off. It's not playing a Wii game and jumping up and down in front of some leap pad. It's not that. Interactivity means the interaction of the child's mind with the material. And the child is mentally striving and working with the teacher or parent to understand what is being taught. And the child's attention has been grasped, but the attention then is maintained by the child's striving and working to think through the process of learning. Thinking is the key. As one great cognitive scientist, Daniel Willingham, has said, memory is the residue of thought. Let me say it again. Memory is the residue of thought. That means simply this: whatever kids think most about, that's what they'll remember. And so the key is not simply to make learning entertaining, but to make learning interactive by giving the student ways to participate thoughtfully in the learning process. And I hope that that's what we'll be able to accomplish in this series. We'll see how to help the students participate in the learning process of vocabulary acquisition. And we'll see how to help the students participate in the learning process of grammar, so that kids will do vocabulary and do grammar and do sentence structure instead of simply being passive recipients, reading off a board or out of a book and writing it down somewhere else. That's not the key to long-term learning. The key is interaction through processes that require the students to think and that facilitate progressive, systematic development. So I look forward to working with you and to showing you how you can help those who God has entrusted to you in your home and in your classroom. That's all for today. From Reverend Vieira at Scholar Skills, may God bless you in all that you do.